talked with Lazarus Lynch, who is a chef. How do I describe Laz? Laz is a difficult person to describe, but he is definitely like a creator at heart. He's an absolute joy to hang out with and to talk to. He's very intelligent and like for somebody this young, like it's actually quite impressive that he's so well put together.
What is Laz? 24. I mean, the wisdom and the insight and the just sheer appreciation for life, I think you'll really get a kick out of, and we really appreciate having Laz, and such a sweetheart, and yeah, we hope you enjoy the chat with Laz. On the street, they're gonna know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and Laz is. I don't know where to start actually. I've read that you're a rock star chef, and you are a lover of food, and you are you're a creator. I think at your core, you're a musician. You've just put out a book, which hopefully we'll have a chance to talk a bit about. We've talked a bit about how you're going to be putting on also some more intimate food experiences, and you're making a range of different videos and interviews, and really dynamic and really excited to chat. And I'm sure that's not everything, but we'll have plenty to talk about. And I really appreciate you coming. And you're in London from New York.
I'm in London. Hey, London.
Which is we've just been really fortunate to have this run-in, and you've been really gracious with your time to join us. So thanks, man, and welcome to the chat.
Thank you. You're a total rock star.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are rock stars too.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And so what did I miss, man? Because I'm sure there's
what
some
did
other.
you miss?
I'm sure there's some other stuff in there.
No, you know, I'm just a normal guy. You know, I love to do normal things. I like to read books. I like to skate. I haven't been so I had this injury with my ankle. I had some kind of issues with my ankle. Turns out I'm flat-footed. Didn't know that. Okay? People out there, you should know if you're flat-footed or if you have a natural arch, because if you don't have a natural arch, you should find some inserts or some insoles that support your knees and your ankles. So I didn't know any of this, right? I found out because I started to ride the skateboard. I'm also an adventure seeker in ways that, for me, don't involve heights or jumping out of things, but I just think, small adventures.
Right.
So I thought, I want to ride the skateboard. I want to learn. Never too late. So I bought a skateboard, didn't know anything about it, and I asked the woman who sold it to me, I said, so what's your advice? She's like, just get on the board. Just get on the board. So I thought, okay, that will be easy. Yeah. Get on the board. And I got on the board, for 4 days, and on day 4, I started riding the skateboard perfectly.
Did you?
I started riding perfectly.
What could you have to do? You doing ollies and kick flips?
I don't do like all the cool tricks, even though like maybe that should be a 2019 goal. Yeah. Maybe to
I think you should.
Like a New Year's resolution. I think I actually could. I don't think I've actually tried.
Yeah.
I've just kind of been content getting from one place to the next on the skateboard. So all that to say, my ankle started triggering up.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I got to figure out what's going on. So I stopped riding the skateboard. And then I went to my doctor. My doctor said, yeah, you're flat-footed. So I had to get some arch support with my shoes.
How do people know if they're flat-footed?
If when you stand on your foot will either sit completely on the floor. It will rest on the floor. So if you just rest your foot, it will rest. And if you tend to lean in, which is what I do, I tend to lean in when I rest my foot. That shows you're flat-footed. If you tend to kind of have like this arch position in the inside of your foot, then you have a natural arch.
And that just puts extra strain on your knees.
It puts extra strain on your knees, extra strain on your
hips,
ankles,
I imagine.
on your hips, and on your back. So what usually happens is it manifests in things like arthritis, but it'll slowly start out as, ankle pain or knee pains, or, you might be just uncomfortable if you're bending or on your knees. If you're standing for a long time, you'll get super uncomfortable. It can also create back tension and back stress, and all of that. So it's interesting how how interconnected the human body
Oh,
is.
absolutely, yeah.
You know?
It's extraordinary.
So that's also who I am.
And you got lucky. You got lucky that your doctor didn't just like give you medication and tell you to get the hell out. You know. Like,
Oh well, I don't know about lucky, but I know that I believe in understanding. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about this. It says, "In all thy getting," meaning in all of your getting, get understanding. So for me, I've always applied that, and he was quick to say. And no shade to my doctor, but he was quick to say, "Oh, just take this in the meantime." And I thought, no, I don't actually want to do that. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I want to understand it. I did X-rays. I did all of that. Now, I should also tell you, I don't come from a family where the men are comfortable going to the doctor.
Okay.
So for my generation, it's a new practice to actually go to the doctor and find out what's going on. If something doesn't feel right, ask the question.
Yeah. What did that look like when you were younger then?
For me, I mean, I always went for my checkups.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, why are we talking about this? But I've always gone to like do my checkups regularly. But there is something. This is why we're talking about it, because there is something to being connected with where you are, how you feel, what you want. Where is life calling you? There is something to that, and the more connected you are with that, I think the more you're likely to ask questions like, "Am I hungry?
Yeah.
Am I tired?
Oh yeah.
Do I feel good? Does this relationship bring me joy?" I mean, those kinds of questions. So growing up, I was kind of not really into that whole listening to the inner voice.
Yeah.
I grew up in church.
But we were talking about this earlier.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
So. But everything was
Please talk a little bit
all
more,
of the
very, very interesting.
Well, all of the onus, all of the problems, all of the pain was supposed to just be taken by God. God will take the pain away. So for me, we didn't have examples of people going to the doctor because it was, if you're sick, God will heal you.
Yeah, right.
If you're in trouble, God will make a way for you. If you can't pay your bills, God is going to send you money. So for me, I had to learn that while you can have your faith, you also have to have your works. You have to have the action behind it to support it. So that lesson I learned, fortunately, learned it very early.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard for me to start to ask those kinds of questions.
When did you start to put that together where there needs to be a balance, that faith is absolutely important and it will always maybe have some part in my life, but actually I need to get better at challenging, asking questions like you said, where am I going, what's important to me, what do I need?
Yeah. Well, I think around college time, I think it was a combination of life experience meets stumbling upon interesting books and teachers and interesting friends. You know, I think there is something to you becoming the people that you surround yourself with. And so as my tribe changed, as my community changed through college, I think I started to become more aware. I think life is always leading you to truth. It's always speaking to you to get you to pay attention, to wake up, to become more clear about what you're here to do. And I think life has been teaching me that since the day I was born, bringing me to the place I am today, which is why nothing's an accident, which is why everything I believe is intentional.
Yeah.
So I've allowed life to serve me that way. But I think yeah, I've still got a long way to go. But I realized, you know, again, like in college, that it wasn't all about what I was able to ask of the universe or ask of God. It was what I was going to do with what I already had. So, for example, I love this story. This is a teacher. His name is T.D. Jakes. He's a well-known preacher, but he talks about this. He says, you know, God never made a chair. God never made a chair. God made a tree, but God didn't make the chair. So God created the tree and then gave man the responsibility to imagine what that tree could be. So that tree could become a chair. It could become a house. It could become the floor. So in other words, you have to think about, what is the raw material I have and what could this be?
What's the opportunity?
What's the opportunity?
Yeah. And what's it going to take for me to actually make this thing and do it? I've got to go do it as well.
Exactly.
It's I really like this topic because, well, some of the
I do too, just a little bit.
Some of the work that I do is around working with organizations who are providing social services, so health, housing, basic kind of social services, and the narrative is always around empowerment, right? The narrative is always about how do you get people to look after themselves? How do they take care of their own health? How do they take care of their own housing, their own well-being, their own children? How do you support that? How do you facilitate that? Which is a difficult it's a difficult task because we're not necessarily educated or trained to do those things, and which is why things like antibiotics proliferate, because it's really simple to just say, well, you don't need to ask that question. You can just take this thing.
Sure.
Or I need you to give me this thing.
Yeah.
And there's a faith in that. There's the faith that this thing will just kind of take care of me.
Of course.
But there's that balance is so important. And where do we get that? Like, where do we get that balance from?
Right.
You know, maybe you go to university. Maybe you get a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're supported by people, or people find you, and you're open to that.
Yeah.
But like, how do you support people to have that openness? How do you?
Well, I just want to be clear too for people that are listening. In no way am I not, suggesting that if you need medication that you take it.
Yeah,
for people that are listening.
Yeah.
I don't want to get people the wrong idea here. And I'm not against drugs, and I'm not against, the use of, obviously doctors have their role and medicine has its role. So I just want to be clear. For me, again, listening to the inner voice, for me, I knew to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And maybe other people don't need to do that, because I don't believe we all need to live the same life or by the same standards. So what I would say is, if you're listening to this conversation, if you've gotten this far in the conversation, there's something inside of you that is asking for this kind of dialogue. There's something in you that is already ready for that. So number one is to acknowledge that you're at the right place, and just accept that. That you are in the right place. That doesn't mean you're not going to have aspirations, or you don't have goals, or that all has its place. But I think it's ungrateful to just want more and not acknowledge where you are, what you already have, and be grateful for that. That's number one.
I think it also has a lot to do with like paying attention to the thing, to whatever is happening to you at a certain moment in your life. And it's
Absolutely.
kind of like, because if you are really, 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 truly paying attention, that means that you will know. Like, it'll be clearer to you.
Right. And I think that, to that point of paying attention, I think that is the next step. Once you are able to say, I'm grateful for this moment, I'm grateful for where I am, I'm grateful for the roof over my head, I'm grateful for this conversation. When you're able to start to identify the areas of your life that you're grateful for, and you begin to pay attention to those smaller things, I think you can build a practice of building gratitude and expressing gratitude, and that practice will lead you to asking more questions and becoming more open. But I think it's a practice. Maybe some of us are biogenetically more engineered for, happiness, for example, or some of us are more predisposed to, genetically to feeling certain ways, or to being more positive or open-minded. But I do think no matter where you are on the spectrum, you can begin that process, and it starts with gratitude. It starts with acknowledging where you are and accepting that and being appreciative of that. And, a practice of gratitude. I think that's the step. I think that's how you do it.
Yeah. It's one thing that for some gratitude, it's one thing I appreciated about watching some of your videos, is that you're, in some situations, you bring such a lovely balance to what's happening. You could be in Alabama, or you could be in Louisiana, in the deep South, and you could have big, bright yellow rubber boots on, and colored nails, and big hair, and probably a bit different than what people are used to. And you fit in so well, and you strike such a good balance. I think it's because of this gratitude, and you let people know where they stand and how much you appreciate being there, and it's so natural. It's really lovely to watch, and really it's a fun watch as well. And I would be curious. How much of that are you aware of that, and what are you? How are you going into that situation where you know, like, maybe I look a bit different, and I'm gonna maybe not ruffle feathers, but I'm gonna maybe make people a little uncomfortable. But I'm gonna do it like a fucking rock star and just be really gracious, you know.
Wow. I think, first of all, thank you for that. I think we all just need to be kind to ourselves, you know, and we all have to be kind to ourselves, you know. I do believe that on the surface, what people experience is, you know, the color and maybe the bright nails or the originality. I think that's all surface. I think that below and beneath all of that, there's a human soul. There's a human soul that is being nurtured, that's being cared for, that's being poured into. And that's the part of me that I celebrate and spend a lot of time working on every single day. So what people get to experience on the outside is just a glow of the inner glow. It is the outer expression of what's happening on the inside. There's a beautiful Chinese proverb, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it goes something like this: where there is beauty in the soul, there will be beauty in a person. Where there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the household. Where there is harmony in the household, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. So what does that say? That says it all starts from that soul, the beauty in the soul and the light that's in the soul. So I think when I'm in a new situation, I'm in New Orleans, I'm in a house, I'm speaking to someone, a mom, a daughter, a gentleman, a chef, whoever I'm speaking to, I always approach it that way. We're all souls, and there's beauty in your soul and there's beauty in my soul. Yeah. And if I can connect to that, then all the other stuff is superficial.
Yeah.
But I will also say, I am aware that when I walk into a room, I might look different than all the other people. And I think that is called my becoming. That is my becoming. That is not something I do on purpose. That's just who I am.
Yeah. And
that's who I am today. And 2 years from now, I might look a different way. You know? So I think the package may look one way today, but it might not look a way next week. It just depends on the day.
It's definitely not going to look the same next week with you, Laz.
No. I don't know really what that means, but okay.
Because you're so expressive in the way that you dress.
Yeah.
I do. For me, it's quite that in and of itself is really artistic, and your ability to connect and to push beyond that, because there is no trace of that. You're there with them, and you just connect with them, and I'm very aware of it because I facilitate. I work with groups. I work with teams. I work with a range of different types of groups and teams and communities, and it's really important that there isn't any of that tension. If we want to have a good workshop or we want to do a good project together.
Totally.
And you've got to cut through stuff pretty quickly, and you've got to be honest with people and open. And I don't know what it is, but that ability to do that is so important. And and it's interesting to see you do it in a different kind of context.
Yeah. It's all connecting. I get what you're saying. And I just also want to say, that's a heavy, very loaded kind of discussion. But, you know, taking care of the inner part of you, the soul of you, you know, some people go to church for that. Some people do yoga. Some people write in journals. Some people write poetry. Some people meditate. I believe in any practice that will help you to become more internally focused and open up your internal ear. But I do think that when you walk into a room, everyone, all of us, we all carry an energy. We carry a light and we carry an energy. And if you're having a really horrible day and you bring that energy into a room, you can literally bring a room down. You can bring a room down, or you could bring a room up by walking into that space.
Yeah, and it manifests itself in everything that you do. I had my friend Bobby. She had this really lovely line where she was telling one of her directors about the grilled cheese sandwich. And if you go make this grilled cheese sandwich and you're pissed off and you're frustrated and you're anxious and you're making this sandwich, that's what you're serving. You're
Right.
serving frustration and anxiety and fear, and it was so beautiful. And she nailed it. It was like a meeting. And the lady, like, you just see her smile, and she got it. She's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's challenging because that it is a difficult conversation to communicate the value and not make it feel like it's not something that you can grasp, but it's really, really important, the energy that you're putting out through the things that you make. And it's essentially what my Almost Anyhow is about, this organization that I've started, which is it's about design ultimately, and about what we're creating, what we're putting out there, whether that's a service for health, whether that is a housing program, or it's designing a product or whatever. We're manifesting whatever's going on in ourselves, in the team.
That's right.
In the organization, and you don't go to the director and say, hey, look, this is about a spiritual awareness, and this is about a self-awareness, and you are manifesting what's going on inside. You don't say that.
Why not? I think we need to start talking that way. I think that's part of the challenge. I think that we don't necessarily. Go ahead. I'll let you.
Well, no, go ahead, because it's.
I say why not. I say why not.
But there's just like how can you communicate it in a way that is like what you were saying, like edible, like that people will be able to consume and understand, and like not think that is just like some almost like fairy tale-y sort of.
And it goes back to our last conversation where we were talking with a friend of mine, Anthony, and we were talking about personality types, and like Anthony said, personality types, Myers-Briggs, they haven't been scientifically proven, but there's definitely something there about people who think with the heart, and some people who think with the head, and most people who run organizations, or a large percentage of people who run organizations, are people who think with the head. They're about the finances, they're about the bottom line, they're about a particular kind of conscientiousness that is not always going to hear something about the emotion and the heart that is brought to the organization. So there is in my conversations, I have to be able to strike, I think, a balance of, I've got to speak in your language.
Sure.
And, but yeah, you're totally right. There's a perfectly good question, and actually, it's something that needs to be that has to be part of the ongoing conversation with myself, which is, okay, at what point are you going to say, look, like, the paradigm that we're working in doesn't work,
right?
And at what point is it going to be about emotion and heart, and that's where decisions are made. That's how decisions are made.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at anything from how a war happens, or how great organizations are created, and it all kind of starts with this idea that Dr. Brene Brown, a researcher and social worker from the United States, talks about a lot. This ability to be vulnerable, that word vulnerability. And it takes people showing up and saying, I'm not perfect. I don't have all my shit together, and and I'm a human being who's just trying to figure it out. And I think if we're doing or we're not doing, we're still doing. If that makes sense. If we're adding to the system, or we're just going along with the system, in some way you're enabling that system. Yeah. Or you're helping to create a new one.
Yeah. Howard Zinn said you can't be neutral on a moving train.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I gotta say though, it is important to strike a balance, and it is important that the people who think with their heads also have a space, which obviously they do. But I'm a very big proponent of balance, and I think that's where you strike where you want to get. You don't want to have something that is ultra emotional and then it just doesn't work. It has to have both sides of the coin, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, there's we were talking the other day about masculine and feminine energy, and I don't. We could talk about that, but it's maybe it's like that's a whole segment. I think about what does it mean to have a masculine energy and feminine energy, but definitely like a push and a pull, a receptive energy and a giving energy.
We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so vital, man, because it's swinging back and forth, and now there's this real strong narrative about having to be a receptive energy. It's like, yeah, absolutely. We need to listen. We need to take time to reflect, and also we can't lose the other piece as well, and can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, kind of thing.
Right.
And I don't think there's a lot of spaces that are supporting that kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Where
I think it's important to realize that not everything is black and white either, and there's a lot of middle ground, and it's really fun to explore. So we should just like stop being afraid of it, stop looking like to things like as very very strictly, and just like open up and just like explore the gray area.
And the truth is, so sorry, cut you off.
Go ahead.
No, the truth is that I think the world is hungry for that. The world is hungry for that. And within organizations, I work with a number of organizations, companies, they're all looking for that deeper element of what are we building? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Who are we serving? And I think we can get lost in, I've worked with the corporate side. I understand making your bottom line, but I do think that we can get so caught up in that and in trying to impress people or just trying to check a box on a really long list of will make me happy if I do this, or this is what success looks like. And I think we need to just put that to the side for a second and have real conversations. And I think organizations all over are recognizing that when they become more human, when they humanize who they are as a company, that they're way more effective and they can do way more. So I do think that companies are hungry for that. I think real leadership is the ability to think and lead and also be compassionate.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can be one without the other. I think good leadership is one that you can experience human to human soul connection with the people that you work with and the people that serve your vision and your mission, but you're also someone who's able to inspire and lead and make decisions and make things happen. So I do agree. I don't think it's one without the other.
Yeah. How does that work with you? Because you're 24, and it's quite a bit of insight for a 24-year-old.
I've got what they call an old soul, buddy.
I'm always telling them.
I've just got an old soul.
And you also you're also starting to put together a team, and you've got your own organization essentially, which is a collection of these projects. And I'd be curious to know how you're feeling about how, I guess, as a kind of leader yourself within this project. And how you see yourself learning about this balance and what it takes to be a leader and push these things forward, especially at such a young age.
Wow, man, I've been so blessed to have people around me that support me and believe in me and want to see me be my best self, and I feel very grateful for that. I also feel like this is one of the best things and one of the greatest challenges that has ever been offered to me is managing a team that in many ways manages me, but also managing them. I think there's like 10, 11 people now that work with me full time. Which is kind of ridiculous. And this morning I was just emailing back and forth with someone else who's new to the team and who has a very specific and important role. It's an interesting challenge, but I think that they reflect all of the things I believe in, and that's important. I don't think it's about the numbers of people that are working with you. I think it's about, do they respond to the vision? Do they respond intuitively to your vision? And if it's one person, then that's all you need. If it's 12 people, then that's what you need. And I think my team has grown. It's shrunken and it's grown. I started out with just myself on YouTube, and then it's grown to, having a manager, a lawyer, an agent, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's fun. I just think it's fun. It's like cool to be able to make your dreams come true with people that want to see that happen for you. So I think it's fun, but it's also really challenging. There're just certain things I have to do that maybe someone who doesn't own their own business doesn't have to do.
How do you make sure that people are aligned to the vision? What does that look like when you're vetting people or listening or trying to find another person?
Well, I do feel like it first requires you to believe in your own vision. You got to believe in it. And you also have to figure out, what's really important for you at the end of the day. You want people who are agreeable, and if there's something that you don't agree with, they're able to communicate that well. And you want people that are going to communicate, who can do that. You also want people who are talented, who can show up and get the job done, get the work done. So I think it's everything from, having meetings with them and having coffees and taking trips and doing all that stuff. I mean, we've done all of that. We take trips, we eat out, we do fun things together. So I think we built this kind of family culture. And within any family, within any community, there's all different kinds of personalities and, different things. But I think with a good leader, you'll have vision, and you're able to communicate that vision to the people that you work with. So I think that's important. I think you have to be able to believe in it and communicate it.
Yeah. I think this is something that is not potentially not valued so much with a lot of organizations. Is how are you making sure actually that people know what the vision is, they understand it, like you said, intuitively, they just get it, and then and they believe in it, and they actually want to go out and live it and make it happen.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I love working with people that just are like, okay, Laz, how are we going to do this? I mean, I have a story. I was shooting a video series, and it started raining outside, and I was like pretty at peace with like, okay, this is done. We're shutting this down. And my team rose up so strongly. First of all, they told me to go inside. They didn't want me to get wet. I mean, I was like, but we got to figure this out. They were like, you go inside, you relax, and we've got this. And they built a fort. Everyone just came together. That's what you want. I don't know that that's something that you could shop for in the market. I don't know how. I don't know. I'm more of an intuitive kind of person. I want to know that you will rise to the occasion, that you will step up, that you're not afraid to take risks, that you're not afraid to push boundaries. I think naturally I attract that to myself. I attract people with like-minded, vision and spirit, who just want to push the boundary and who want to see better.
Yeah.
Not just better for me, better for them, better for the world. So I think that's really where it starts. If they want to do better, it starts with being a good person. I mean, that's an underrated conversation.
Would you say it's got to do with people that are able to take responsibility, like people who are able to say, okay, this is important, and I will make the steps necessary to make this happen?
Definitely. I mean, I think you're looking for people that will march in rhythm, but who aren't afraid to, march a little faster. And they're not afraid to look back and say, okay, someone needs help marching with this pace. Maybe it's too fast. Maybe we need some additional support here. So someone who's able to give and receive, that's important. someone who's able to say, I'm not strong here, but you are. And so
Yeah.
let
Which takes, like you said, some vulnerability.
vulnerability. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, which that's tough. It's tough. It's tough for them to trust you that you're gonna be okay with that as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
hey, Laz isn't gonna get pissed off because I can't do it or whatever, or he's gonna,
No.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I also push. I push for more. So even though I know what people are capable of, I oftentimes push even more, and I push myself. So all those things kind of just go into the recipe of why it works. But I think people I want to have fun with the team I work with. So it's really just fun. If you come to any of our shoots or any of our projects, we're just all having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like we're not working; we're just having fun.
What's the vision then? What's Laz's vision?
The vision. Oh, that's such a loaded question. I was thinking about this morning because I don't specifically have a vision, and I think that that's okay. And I think against popular belief, I don't see myself. I'm not one of those people that like have a 10 list goal or anything. I am connected with who I am. And I think that should be everyone's first pursuit, is to get in touch with that. And that inner calling and that deeper calling, it just lines me up in a way where projects will enter into my consciousness, contacts will be made, connections will happen. So for me, I know intuitively the person I am, the life I'm meant to lead looks like the life I'm leading right now. So that looks like writing books, that looks like doing music, that looks like creating a line, that looks like leading a company, that looks like giving back, that looks like traveling, that looks like having shows. It looks like products. It looks like doing a lot with youth. It looks like being a voice for young people, being an ally. But I just think that that's just who I am.
Yeah.
So it's not a goal.
Is that what people are getting behind then? That look, we like Laz. We like the stuff that he's putting out. We believe that he's a good guy and he's got good ideas. We believe in his philosophy. We like him. We have fun, and we just trust that the stuff that he's going to start to produce or want to produce, we're also going to want to produce. Or is that what people are getting behind?
I don't know what the hell they're getting behind. I would hope that they're getting behind. I don't know. I think again, people are looking and thirsty for authenticity.
Right.
They just want authenticity. So if you're just being who you are, I'm not. The other thing I should say is that I didn't go out and look for these people. Maybe one person in my team, and I will say, I did go out and look for them, but they kind of came into my space. Again, God handed me a tree, and then it was up to me to determine what that tree could be. So my management, for example, I met at an event. I was doing something else. I held on to that. I held on to the name. I remembered. Held on to the card, and something within me just said, "Reach out. Just reach out to them. Reach out to them." So for me, I think that that's what people can feel.
Yeah.
They can just feel that it's not superficial for me. That there's something deeper there that I want and that I want to see for the world. And I think that there's a collective conscience, as I think we were talking about the other day, but there's like this collective conscience that the world is experiencing today. And I think that everyone has their role. Every single person has their role. Everyone's a leader. Everyone's a leader of their own life. Whether you have a television show or you have books or you are leading your family or you're waking up every day going to your job, that is your role. And your responsibility, and no matter what position you are, is to ask yourself, how can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve? Mariam Wilson says, who could, what's the quote? It's like, where will I go? Who will I serve? to whom?
It's
You know,
massive,
it's that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And that's how I live my life.
I love that. I think even Dylan said that everyone's got to serve someone, and it's a really beautiful. It's a really beautiful intention and reminder,
Right.
and particularly, and I think what you said earlier about why do people want to be involved with you as an organization, or why are the people that we're serving give a shit about what we're doing, and there's something there about a deep respect for the people that are coming into your life, and if you're an organization or you're a team or you're a creator, just really taking time with people, because everyone's got something to offer, and you can always serve someone in any particular moment.
Right.
And it's a really lovely thought too, because how do you communicate that to an organization? Say, look, actually, like the trees are there, everything's already there for you.
Yeah.
The abundance is there. You just need to be open to it, and life will serve you, and life will. And this is like my issue with strategy, and there's a place for strategy for sure.
Totally.
But I sit in meetings about strategy and I freak out sometimes, because I just think, guys, it's all there. Like, we just need to go out and do it. We're planning for something that's already in front of our faces.
Right.
And this is going back to the T and the thinking and the feeling, you know, of like, you've got people who need to think and need to like plan out and need to create this 5-year thing, which there's some relevance to that, but also like, at what point are you just going to go out and see that the trees are there and be open to it? And maybe we don't need to recruit, actually. Maybe we just need to be open to the people who are coming into our lives, and let's be a bit more intuitive about it. Which I would love to have like a program of like, how do you support organizations to just be be more accepting, or more open to serendipity, and to just be present, and like just have a bit more faith. Like,
right.
We don't need to like put this plan together.
Right. I think that was one of the greatest freedoms of shooting my show Comfort Nation with Food Network, was we had a template, and then they would give me, you know, the script, and they were like, okay, you guys go off. And what I would do is I would look at it, I would, you know, evaluate where we were and the situation that I was in, and then I would just go with it. And I kind of threw the script away and just went with it, and that's what works.
Yeah.
That's what works. So I think there is a. Sorry?
It's authenticity. That's what it actually is.
It is, and you have to be able to understand the room you're in, and to again notice everything. You know, when I walked into this room, I noticed the walls, I noticed the color of the curtains, I noticed what was going on. I think you have to do that. I think organizations need to do that more often, because if they're anything like people are, and people serve organizations and work for organizations, there are people leading that. But if it's anything like people, there's constant change and constant movement and constant motion. So you have to get into that. And if you're not in the flow of that, then you're really missing something.
Yeah.
You're missing the sweetness, you're missing the beauty, you're missing the awe, you're missing the wonderment. And I think that the magic of what you get to put out into the world, what you get to create, happens when you take a step back and you're able to notice. Simply notice, what is the need, what is the most immediate need in front of me?
Right.
How can I serve that?
Yeah, right. Which goes back to this this thing about drawing is not about the actual drawing. Drawing is about seeing. It's about changing the way that you see things, right?
That's so interesting.
And about the detail, and about, like you're saying, about being curious about what's around you, and the awe and the beauty and the wonder of life. Which where did you find this awe or this wonder around you, or the curiosity? Was that something that you got from your parents, or when did that become really live for you?
That's a great question. I think, like everybody in the world, I think we all have a baseline of curiosity. I think, though, I was naturally an artist. I grew up painting and drawing. So from the time I can remember, I was always drawing and sketching and painting. So I think that has trained my eyes to pay attention to details and to care about details in a way that, you know, makes me think and makes me feel a way and makes me experience emotion. Because I I remember as a kid, if the line wasn't curved exactly the way I wanted it to be curved, I would erase it and I would perfect it and perfect it and perfect it. And there's some beauty to that, that is not, you know, OCD or anything like that. It's just really trying to strive for the best something can be. So I think I've kind of trained my eye to do that, and yeah, man, I just think over the years I've gotten more clear and more clear and more clear about how those talents, how those gifts are meant to serve the calling in my life. So like the other day I had dinner with a friend, and we met another friend, and the friend said to me, you know, I think part of my calling in the world is to help bring people to a higher space of consciousness and bring them into a space where they can believe in their dreams and do that. And I thought that really resonates with me. That it just like felt, yes, this is right. So I think, yeah, I've become more curious about that, and I'm still learning about how that gift actually operates and how my talents will serve that calling. But I do feel like I'm getting clearer. I'm getting a glimpse, about how that curiosity is supposed to serve me, and how it's supposed to make a difference.
Yeah. I had a friend, and we were both working in education for a while, and she was one of my favorite people to talk to generally, but we would often get into quite intensive discussions about what we thought was useful for young people. And I always felt like if kids walked out of the classroom and they were curious, that was a win. Like if they went away saying, you know, what was it about that was interesting, or how can I dig a bit further into this thing, or I want to now learn about X, Y, and Z, or I wonder what we're gonna do this next time, and maybe what can I bring to the discussion, or whatever it is. Like, as long as they were thinking about how they can dig a bit deeper into whatever we talked about, that would be a victory.
Totally.
And she might have said, you know, I don't know, self-efficacy, whatever. I don't know, some modern term, grit, or, you know, whatever they're talking about in education these days. But it's so important. And yeah, kids are already kind of doing that anyways. And
let me tell you, I was a naughty kid, man. I was very naughty, very, very naughty. I was a badass kid. You know what? My family always brings it up every now and then, especially my family here in the UK. They're like, yeah, you were such a rowdy kid, naughty, as they say, very naughty.
Yeah.
But I think it was just this innate curiosity, this innate desire to challenge, and to say, I don't accept that because you are an adult and you tell me that that's what it is. Why can't it be blue and you tell me it's black? Why can't it be purple and you tell me it's orange? So I was always that kid that was challenging, but I think I was naturally just curious, and I needed to explore and ask questions. And you know, I think when that was finally met, those questions were finally met with the attention of an adult who said, you know what, you've got something. There's questions there that make sense,
yeah.
And I don't have the answer. And maybe we won't have the answer.
Yeah.
But the question can still be asked and not be met with ridicule. So I think that more kids need, what kids need today, I think more kids need just approval. They just need approval of who they are. They just need to be reminded that they matter, their questions matter, their voices matter, and that adults don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I think also that there's a bit there where it takes so little to get a kid excited. If you just have a little bit of excitement about something that they ask or something that they do well, you just give them a little pat on the back and they get so excited.
Oh,
yes. And it's so sad because it doesn't happen. So many people don't do that to their kids.
Oh yeah.
You know.
My sister-in-law used to get really excited when they were teaching my nephews how to go to the toilet. Freak out, we're gonna go to the fucking toilet, let's go, really excited, yay, fun, and then
poop time.
The kids would be like, yeah, and they'd run to the toilet and bring a book or whatever, you know. And yeah, it's true, man.
Just so rewarding.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that and important that we're talking about this because and whoever is listening, if you got kids, and this comes from a guy that doesn't have kids, but I just think that from my experience, whenever it just takes so little, just like give them that little bit of extra excitement, and that will, that will give them a lot to look forward to, and to transform and become a little bit better.
Yeah.
Want to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have these like moments when you were younger that you remember of like critical learning moments, or like you said that there was that adult that said, you know what, actually, Laz, that's a fucking great question, or like did you have any of these moments that were kind of like turning points?
I had a couple of moments that were turning points for me. I mean, one when I was super young, I remember I was painting this caterpillar from the book, the caterpillar. Oh God, what's the name of that book?
The little hungry caterpillar.
The little hungry caterpillar, right?
Yeah.
So I painted this caterpillar, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was redrawing the cover, and I remember spending so much time on it, and one of the teachers noticed that I was like in the corner of the room and I was painting this. And she was just like, oh my God. She's like, that is amazing.
Mm.
And I remember just kind of saying like, really? It is? Is it amazing? And then she called all the other teachers from the other classrooms to come and see this painting. And then of course all the students were like watching now, and all eyes were on me and on this caterpillar. But I think that moment for me, it awakened something that was like so positive, and I really remember that as being a turning point for me, where I thought, okay, maybe I could do this. Maybe there's something here that I could express through art, through painting. People are experiencing something through this. And as a kid, I didn't really understand how to connect that, but I do remember now as an adult that moment did something for me. Another moment was...
And just something
Yeah.
that I think it's interesting, though, because, and this is something that maybe Nathan doesn't know, so I'll ask. Strangely enough, you didn't pursue arts when you went to study, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't do art. But the other moment was... The other moment was I did ballroom dancing in the 5th grade. And
it's a good school you went to.
It was alright. It was alright. It was a good school. No, it was actually a really good school. And my mother fought to get me and my family in that school because we lived in a different zone. And so if you didn't live in that zone of the school, you weren't allowed to go. So anyway, my mother fought. She's a fighter. Love you, Mom. And she got us in. But we did ballroom dancing as a 5th grader. And that was the moment where, for me, things started to really change.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I excelled at art, but I was always I was so naughty, in the words of my family in London. So the teacher there, she realized that, okay, you're really good at dancing, you're really good at ballroom dancing. If I can create a system where you can dance, you'll also do your homework, and there's some benefit here where you get to stay after school, you might get free pizza. So she really tried to kind of like figure out how to relate to me. I mean, went out of her way to make sure I was getting the extra help. I was getting tutored if I needed it. She would even bring me to her home, me and my sister, to her home after school. We would do homework. She would feed me some salad and play some good music. And, her house was gorgeous. So I think early exposure to all of that, it really shifted everything. That teacher's name is Mrs. Mincer.
Mrs. Mincer.
Mrs. Mincer.
Wow.
We still keep in touch.
What a nun.
Oh,
like
totally.
An absolute saint.
She was a rebel. She really stirred things up. She just had a gift.
Could you do that now? Could you take a kid and like take him home to your house if you were a teacher and like feed him and play music?
Maybe
for
if they're like your niece or nephew, but no, I don't think
it's amazing. What do you? Yeah. Well.
In some situations.
Yeah. What do you think the? How did that? What happened for you in that experience?
Man, I felt seen, heard, understood by an adult who only wanted to see me succeed. And kids need that attention. They do. So I had, I've been blessed with really great parents, but I will tell you, my parents were working parents.
Yeah.
So they weren't at every school play and recital and every, whatever thing that was happening at the school. I remember my only party that I had at school was when I was in the 4th grade, and I had begged my mother to like take off work and make a cake and come to my school, and like all the other kids did, because their parents were in situations where they could show up, and that wasn't the reality for my parents. So, I learned pretty early how to take care of things for myself, and it's probably the reason I started cooking very young, was because I came home and I needed to eat. So my parents just trusted us at home to cook, and I got that attention from this adult, and I think that really made a difference.
Right. Yeah. So you felt like you weren't always privy necessarily to that kind of attention or affirmation from your parents because they were just working, and they had to.
Yeah, and I also think that, not to give them a bad name, but it's just the reality. Parents aren't perfect. No parent's perfect, and I think certain kids need different types of love and attention, and the way that adults can show that to children varies. Some kids need hard lessons, and they need a little slap on the hand. Other kids need they need just to know that they're enough, and to know that they've done nothing wrong, that they're enough. Some kids need to just be heard, so fortunately this teacher, she saw that I had this gift in art, and she was able to nurture that, man.
It's really beautiful. I appreciate you sharing, because I know that's the reflection of looking back and being able to reflect on your relationship with your parents, and also these people that kind of come into your life, and how important, like you said, how important it is just to be affirmed and just to be seen, and just for people to let you know how you're doing in the world. Like it's that how else do we know how we're doing unless someone else says, hey man, like that's a really beautiful piece of work, or that's actually you're doing really well, you're talented, and which I think goes back to what you were saying about appreciation and gratitude, and why it's so important, and how the hell do I know I'm doing the right thing, or how do I know I'm getting along in the world, if you don't just tell me. And I really love that you have these moments too, because I think it's so undervalued in education and in generally in our paradigm of like, actually maybe you have 3 to 5 to 10 really strong lasting moments of learning and of shaping who you are, also genetics, etc. But there are these really important moments in these people, in these pockets of time, that will dictate your future and dictate the way that you perceive yourself and the things that you go on to create and the people that you surround yourself with. And it's really beautiful, these kind of like these saints who just like come in and they offer you this like gift,
Totally.
And I'm sure you've reflected on that before. So that was the first time you've thought.
It's not the first time, and I'm just so grateful that for 2 things really, that with my father I was able to thank him and tell him how grateful I am for him while he was alive. And I'm also grateful that I get to say that to Mrs. Mincer now, who's still alive and who's just wonderful and living life. So I think that that's also another expression of gratitude. It's not just toward the things that are immediately in front of you, but it might be for people who have helped you way back when, and who you may have lost contact with. So I would encourage anybody who's listening about this, like if there are people that have really made a difference in your life and you haven't spoken to them in 5 years and 10 years, reach out. I mean, there's a site called Facebook, I think, that helps people do that. So really try to find these people and connect. I have a really beautiful story about a friend of mine from elementary school whose name is Juan, and lost touch with Juan, and for no other reason than we just went to different schools after junior high school. We went to different schools, and he's not on social media. He's not, I think he has an email, but that's pretty much it, and a cell phone. So many years later, went through high school, went through college, graduated college, came back to New York, and one day I get an email from one saying, "Hey, dude, I don't know if you still remember me, but I came across you. My professor brought you up in one of my classes and showed us your website or something." And so he said, I found your website and sent you this email. He's like, "I don't know if you remember me, but I'm so happy for you." And I was like, "Dude, of course I remember you." And then I was like, "And I remember your phone number because we used to call each other. We used to have house phones. It's like back in the day where we used to have house phones." And I would I remembered his number. So I said it in the email. I said, "Yeah, and your number is blah, 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 blah." And that just reignited an old friendship. And so now we're still super close.
Oh, beautiful.
Our families are still super close. So I'm very grateful for that.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think even like you don't even need to reach out to people, but just like take a moment to meditate or reflect or think about people who've gotten you where you're at, because you definitely haven't gotten there on your own. And this like myth of meritocracy is a bit unhealthy, and I can go through a list of people I know who, including mom, and for all our parents' faults, like we are who they are. So I think it's what you've said is really vital, and people need to. It's an important practice.
And I would say too, thank the pain, thank the suffering, thank all the ugly that's happened.
Yeah.
Because that's also worked for you, and that's also brought you to this moment. I think it's as much as it's about the people who've done extraordinary things or who gave us that wisdom or piece of advice. It's also what didn't work out and being grateful for that. And I think that we can get stuck and not move forward if we don't appreciate everything that has happened. Even the bad, even the things we don't understand, the deaths, the things that have happened.
Yeah.
But I think blessing the things that have brought us pain and brought us suffering and in some way has moved us closer to who we should be, I think that that's really powerful as well.
Yeah. It's one thing that we don't talk much about societally. And like Taleb, Nassim Taleb talks about, obviously we talk a lot about post-traumatic stress, but there's also this idea of post-traumatic growth. And if you work out, you break down your muscles and they grow back bigger. And you're right, absolutely. It's something
Jonathan Haidt as well.
What's that?
And Jonathan Haidt also talks about the same thing. He mentions Taleb a lot.
Is this the guy who's writing about the stoicism and?
No, it's a guy. He's got like this book called the Coddling of the American Mind.
Okay.
And it's a lot about anti-fragility. That's also like.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What do you at the moment? Because you've got a few things going on at the moment. What are you most grateful for now in terms of the stuff that you're working on?
Wow, most grateful for.
Or just feel you're feeling it right now. Because I know you've just finished the book and...
Finished the book. The book was 2 years. It was a 2-year process. I didn't know exactly how much that would take of me and like require of me. But I started it not too long after I graduated college and then started writing this book. So 2 years later, I'm like, wow, this book is written. Like it is done. It is pretty much done. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm super excited for the launch of that, June 11th, 2019.
Should we see it?
You want to see it?
Yeah.
So we have a
version.
A version. It's not the version, but this is the book, y'all. Son of a Southern Chef, Cook with Soul. It's the title of the book, Cook with Soul.
The colors are great. It's beautiful and like really vibrant. And,
thank you.
And we were talking about it yesterday about the website too. Just like. It's just a lot of you, and not your face necessarily, but there's just a lot of Laz, and it's really refreshing, especially when like the whole internet now looks like Squarespace, and you've got this thing that's just like boom, 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 and you're not really, he's doing food and he's doing music, but there's also like an element of design and photography and fashion and it's just like, wow, this is awesome. I just want to just go up and down this site for like 20 minutes.
Thank you.
It's cool.
Unapologetically Lazarus.
That's it. I think it's just, yeah, someone the other day was like, who designed it, and do you use Squarespace? And I was like, no. It's like,
Does that look like Squarespace?
I don't use Squarespace. No, nothing against Squarespace, but I designed it. And, you know, I think that there's something to, like, starting small and growing, and I still feel like I'm small, even though, you know, there's a lot that's happening in my life. But I remember the days when I was in high school, and I had a blog that was like a Blogspot website. And, you know, it was called Keeping It Healthy, and it's probably somewhere on the internet right now. And it wasn't colorful, it wasn't beautiful, it was just raw and honest, and it was where I was. And that was way back in 2009, 2010. So I've just grown, and so now I've actually designed my website. But, you know, that it just came from a curiosity of like, how do things work? How can I build this? How can I create something? And there's so much that I'm still learning. But yes, I'm very excited for the book.
It's cool, man.
Here it is.
What an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for Soul Food Talks. It's a series I'm in season 2 of, and I'm looking to do season 3 and go bigger for that. And on that show, I talk to really interesting people. They can be chefs, photographers, musicians, artists, just anyone who has a story and who I find is a light bearer, a wisdom keeper, just someone who really elevates, inspires, and uplifts. So I just have conversations with them, and I cook for them. It's a little bit of a perk. I cook for them, so I'm excited for that as well. And also to be able to share food with the world, you know, in a way that I haven't before. I think people are used to experiencing me digitally through a screen. So the book is a way for people to have a bit of soul in their kitchen, in their homes, and, you know, bring more soul to the world. That's my mission.
Yeah, great. There it is.
I guess. I just said that. That's my mission. There it is. Bringing more soul, bringing food and more soul to the world.
That's a brilliant vision statement. I like that.
Well, I just made it up.
There you go, man. it's
there it goes.
And you're also going to be doing some, which I love this idea of doing, these kind of like 8 to 10 person intimate dinners, potentially in Airbnbs in New York.
Oh yeah, we are doing something like that. That's right.
We don't need it. We can cut that out, by the way, if you're.
No. I mean, here's the thing. It's just, what do you want to do? I believe we're all the creators of our own dreams and realities. We make it happen for ourselves. It's not up to someone else. It's up to you and what you want to do with your life. So I live in this space where if I want to do something, then I pray and I do it. And prayer is more inward. It's more to get me on board with what I'm actually doing. But I think you just do things. So the dinners that I want to do, just want to do it. I just want to cook for more people than just my family and close friends, and open that up to people that I don't get to experience on a day-to-day basis. So there's that. There's also music, which I'll continue to be working on. I'm a musician. Work on an album. You know, that's just who I am. So again, I think everyone needs to ask themselves, who am I? What am I here to do? And just start doing it. I don't live by number 1, number 2, number 3. I have a team who cares about all of that. And that's kind of the gift of having a team. If there is anything to having a team, it's for people who care about goals and care about checking off boxes. And you need those people in your life, and we need those people in the world to make things happen. But I am very excited about just getting up in the morning and being able to, like, put my feet to the floor and say, this day I will spend it like this. And this is the privilege that I have. Joseph Campbell says, the privilege of being myself. The privilege of being myself is the privilege of a lifetime. So that is it. You know, so that's the greatest joy. The book, that's great. That's cool. You know, people they're gonna go onto Amazon and pre-order. That's fun, and I appreciate that. But the greatest joy, you asked me what I'm most grateful for, is to be able to every day to say, this is the life I want to live, and to be able to live it unapologetically. That's the greatest gift.
I feel like we could almost end on that.
I think that's quite beautiful.
That's the gift. That's the gift.
That was the one, man.